Untitled Chat about books. Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a book review, and the book that I'm going to be reviewing is The Outsiders by S.E.Hinton. Now, this book is definitely not what I would usually read, so if you like fantasy, this is not a fantasy book. It's very short, it's under 200 pages long, so it only took me 2 hours to read this, and the reason that I read it is that I am doing a brief to redesign the cover on my graphic design course, so yeah, I had to read the book basically to know what the book cover would be like, and I actually ended up enjoying this quite a lot, so that was definitely a good thing. So I ended up giving this a 3.5 star rating because I did enjoy this story, and it is very different to what I normally read, so the fact that I enjoyed it was definitely a good thing. However, I definitely felt like the ending was very sudden and that there should have been more development to that, so for that reason I could only give it 3.5, and I didn't fall in love with the characters or the story as much as I would like to be able to give it more. So going into this, I really had no idea what to expect because I've never read a synopsis of it, and I literally bought it for reading for my course. But I knew it was kind of about like gang culture and set in the 60s, and that was all I really knew. So I went into it feeling like this could be anything, and I had a very open mind when I went into it. So the main character is called Ponyboy, which is quite a strange name, but it's definitely individual, and he works that name well. He enjoys having it, and he thinks that it's definitely a good thing. He doesn't like people who judge him for having that name. And then he lives with his two older brothers, who are called Derry and Soda Pop. So they are kind of a dysfunctional family. They fight a lot and they have discussions with each other. They don't have parents because their parents were killed in a car crash, and therefore they're kind of on their own, making their way in the world. Now, they're part of a gang which is called the Greasers. They are a greaser gang. They like to gel their hair back and put grease in it, and that's why they're called Greasers. And that gang is kind of the lower end of society. There's a lot of greasers around town, and they all have their own little gangs, and they all kind of get along. And so then there's the rival gang, which is the Socks, or the Socs. I'm really not sure how you say it. It's kind of meant to be like socialites. So they're like the upper class who basically are the bad boys, and they like to go around and they like to jump people, which essentially means mug them in the middle of the street and gang up on them and abuse them, and horrible things happen. So these two gangs have a big rivalry, and whenever you see the other gang, trouble is probably going to happen. So essentially the story is told from Ponyboy, who's 14's point of view, and we see through his eyes the difference that the two gangs have in opinion, and why they end up fighting with this other gang and what comes of that. So the gang that they're in is made up of quite a few people, and they're kind of like a big family. They all look out for each other. They like to be around. If the other's hurt, they'll definitely all be there, and they'll all be committed to trying to get them better and cheer them up. So they are like a big dysfunctional family of misfits, essentially outsiders. And they're really interesting, really funny, and they've all got their own quirky identities, which I really enjoyed because I felt like their personalities were very well developed, and that definitely came across. Some of the other characters who I actually really enjoyed were Johnny, because he was very sort of quiet. He was the one in the gang who didn't make a lot of noise and didn't have a big vibrant personality. He just sort of sat back, and he was kind of like an outlet for everyone else to talk about their problems, and he was just the one who kind of held them all together. And I really enjoyed that side of him, and seeing that. That certainly made him a really interesting and sort of different character to the others. I also really like the character of Cherry, because she doesn't feature very heavily in the book, but when she does, she kind of has a very interesting outlook on the difference between the Greasers and the Socks? I'm not sure. Because she herself is a Soc or a Soc, and she essentially is an upper class woman, young woman who knows what it's like to be rich, but she also knows that there are problems within her society and there are problems within their society, and she very much understands that they are just people. They are not two rival gangs, and they do not have to hate each other unless they let themselves hate each other. She enjoys sunset, she enjoys the same things that they do, and when they meet her, they kind of discover that not everyone is bad, which I really found an enjoyable and engaging part of the book. I'm definitely connected to that because that certainly is a kind of moral for the overall story. On the whole, it's definitely a really gritty novel. There's a lot of violent things that happen in it, but at the end of it all, it's definitely kind of coming to a good end, and that really helps you put things in perspective and see that there is kind of a moral behind this story, and that there is a goodness coming from all the bad, even if it doesn't seem like it, because there is a lot of tragedy that happens in the sort of near the end, and yeah, you have to get on with that and just deal with that and see the goodness that comes from it, and I really enjoyed that. So I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. Let me know down below if you have read this and what you thought of it if you did. If you are going to leave spoilers, as always, please try and put spoiler at the top of your comments so that no one who hasn't read the book will be spoiled. Thank you very much, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat.